This is another general update video, although I'm going to give some controversial opinions on some stuff as well. So hopefully it'll be a bit more interesting than my usual videos. Apologies if you hear a kind of odd noise in the background because I've got to have a fan on because it's so hot here. It is Tuesday, 25th of July. Japanese summer is really kicking in. I don't know if the microphone will pick it up, but the cicadas are starting. So in Japanese it's semi. So there's just this continuous annoying sound of these annoying cicadas. I had chemotherapy today. I've got my chemotherapy bottle here. I think this is chemotherapy number 21. Yeah, not very nice. I kind of slept all day basically at the hospital. I'm on I think I had five or six different drips today. So they sort of woke me up to just come and tell me they were changing the drip. But I was basically just sat asleep in a chair. I was trying to read an incredibly boring magazine called Pi User, which is a magazine about Raspberry Pi, but very dull. So, yeah, Japanese summer, so it's super hot and humid. Temperature here is low to mid 30s most days and quite a lot of the night as well. It might not sound particularly hot, but the humidity is very high. It's often like 90% humidity. The weather forecast, they'll sort of say it's 35 degrees today, but it's going to feel like 47 or whatever. So it's pretty hot. So I'm trying to drink as much as possible. Just some random thoughts, really. So this is the 21st chemotherapy, and I think it's probably the sort of 10th chemotherapy where I've had just the poison called 5-FU plus the molecular targeted therapy Avastin. And that's quite significant, really, because the usual chemotherapy for someone in my position would be 5-FU plus something called oxaliplatin, which is a platinum-based poison, which is the one that does all the nerve damage. It's really nasty. And in England, the government decided that Avastin was too expensive to give to people dying of cancer. It was available for some time using something called the Cancer Drug Fund, which is basically a bizarre concept where the government decides a cancer drug is too expensive, but then they say, oh, we can pay for it out of this extra bit of money. It was a stupid idea, obviously. So for people like me, they'd give a different molecular targeted therapy, either panitumumab, I can't remember the commercial name for that, or Erbitux or Arbitux. And both those work in the same way, which is that they target what is it called, epidermal growth factor or something, EGFR, epidermal growth factor receptors, and those two medicines only work, so they both work in the same way, and they only work at quite high doses because the idea is they kind of smother the tumour on these points. And I had panitumumab in the beginning a few times, and I got really, really bad side effects and couldn't continue having it. And because this is Japan, where cancer treatment is considerably better than the UK, they say, we'll stop giving you this, and maybe you can try this other medicine called Avastin. And Avastin has a whole bunch of other different side effects, some very dangerous. It can make a hole in your colon, which can kill you. It can cause like liver failure, kidney damage, this kind of thing. But you might not get those side effects. And in my case, I haven't got those side effects so far, which is good. And before I started on the medicine, I asked about the risk factors, and also I asked if there's a cumulative risk. So if I keep having it, will I eventually get the side effects? And I was told no. There's no cumulative risk with Avastin. So at the moment, I'm having this chemotherapy that is, along with the immunotherapy and the dichloroacetate medicine I'm taking and the hypothermia treatment, it's keeping me alive. And in England, I would have basically had the choice of dying or having essentially debilitating side effects. I mean, the side effect I got from panitumumab was so bad that I had to take morphine, and morphine gives, or can give you, and in my case did give me, auditory hallucinations, so to hear like screeching sounds or all this chattering in my head, made sleeping really difficult, and you don't want to be taking morphine really, particularly when you're suicidal. You don't even want access to morphine. And at various points I was obviously suicidal. So that's just something to think about. If I remained in England, might be dead already. And amazingly, because this doctor in England had, not my doctor, but a doctor I was in contact with, Dr. David Matthews, had told me about this thing called immunotherapy. And I started finding out about that kind of thing, and then I had no money to pay for it. But my sister started raising money for me, and many of you have donated, and that's given me these options. So when you have terminal cancer, treatments are considerably less effective because the cancer spread, but also there are just fewer options. And that fundraising has kind of given me more options. So that's just been incredible. And if I can keep raising money, then I may keep living, which is hard to believe, but it does seem to be true. So I'm desperately trying to look at the ill-positioned camera on this stupid computer. And it's very disconcerting when I don't look in the camera and you see like my eyes at an odd angle. So a couple of controversial comments I should make. First of all, I think earlier this month, Bradley Lowery died, which was very, very, very upsetting for me. He was 5 years old, and I think the cancer, he had brain cancer, I think neuroblastoma, and he had been diagnosed, I think, like age of 18 months or something. So basically most of his life was spent in and out of hospital, and it seemed that it was successfully treated and it came back. And I don't, it's dangerous for me to comment on his treatment because I don't know all the details, but fuck it, I'm going to anyway because I don't care. I do just wonder if it had been possible to get him to Japan or the US, where the treatment is much better than the UK, at least for terminal cases. What would be different, particularly if he had the sort of treatment I'm having, this autologous treatment where the treatment is made using your own blood. And with those kind of immunotherapies where there's a memory effect, so that the immunotherapy is attacking the cancer, but it's also kind of setting a memory that your immune system can then use to build itself up and hopefully target the cancer as well. Also, there's a theory that cancer spreads to different parts of the body by these things. I guess non-medical people would call them cancer stem cells. In medical papers, they're often written as like cells with stemness properties. And just like the name suggests, they behave a bit like stem cells. So stem cells are the cells that can turn into any other cell, almost any other cell, I believe. And cancer treatments are not able to target cancer stem cells, with the exception of immunotherapy, particularly NK cell immunotherapy. NK cell immunotherapy has been shown pretty comprehensively in preclinical trials. So this is in lab conditions, not in humans. But there's, when I talked to one of the immunotherapists, he just said, as far as they're concerned, it's fact that it targets cancer stem cells because there's so much preclinical evidence. So I just wonder, if he had been in a country with better cancer care. Also something like cyberknife, or preferably tomotherapy, which is like a lower radiation version of cyberknife, or obviously proton therapy. Been doing proton therapy in Japan for 10 years now or something. In fact, at the hospital that I go to, at the Tokyo clinic of Tohoku Southern General Hospital, which has 3 proton therapy rooms connected to a massive particle accelerator. It's incredible, and you see the photos of it. The proton therapy device, it's almost comical. It weighs the same as 10 double-decker buses, so quite a serious weight. But proton therapy it's a type of radiation therapy, but with radiation therapy, the problem is always getting the radiation to the tumour through the surface tissue. Because essentially you're firing radiation at the person, let's say they've got a big chunk of cancer in their arm. You're firing the radiation at their arm, but it's going through all that tissue, just essentially damaging and destroying all that tissue. And then when it gets to the tumour, on the bone or whatever, it's lost a lot of its cancer destroying energy because it's gone through this tissue. The way that cyberknife gets around it, which I think is kind of cool, is to have 96 beams at different angles. So the energy is essentially focused where it crosses the beam, where the beams kind of meet. So, one of those beams is quite low energy, so not damaging much of the surface tissue. It's just high energy where the 96 beams kind of focus. Now, proton beam therapy is a single beam of essentially hydrogen atoms with the electron removed. That's what a proton is. But for reasons I don't understand, the peak energy, I guess, is at a certain distance. So there's for some reason, if you think of the energy curve, it peaks and then drops off. So it peaks and drops off. And that peak happens in a well-defined place. Whatever, let's say 10 centimeters away from the head of the beam. So that means you can actually get the energy to where it needs to be and destroy those tumours. And because they're relatively new technologies, these kind of special radiation treatments and what's often called image-guided radiation treatments, so they've got a radiation beam but it's actually guided by a CT scanner in the case of cyberknife automotherapy, or an MRI scanner in the case of View-Ray, which is one of the newest technologies. So the scanner is actually guiding the head. It's really important if you imagine something like liver, because your liver's moving when you breathe, right? It's like every time you breathe, the liver's bang, bang, bang. So, imagine this beam and the liver's bouncing around. But with the kind of the guiding system, the head, the beam comes out as kind of matching that movement. So I just wonder if Bradley Lowery had those kind of treatments, would he have lived a bit longer? Possibly long enough for someone to come up with a cure for his cancer. I think the chance of him living longer is just, I have no idea, because I'm not an oncologist. But I think that the chance that his quality of life would have been improved by my type of immunotherapy, NK cell, I'm pretty confident about that, because my immunotherapist has treated 10,000 people over 20 years, basically, and has seen very, very significant improvements in quality of life. Because this type of immunotherapy that boosts the immune system, you're getting the benefit of that attacking the cancer, but also just that time in hospital and different cancer treatments that just trashes your immune system and just makes you feel terrible. So anything that can boost your immune system is really good. So on to an even more controversial topic, something that's actually happening now. In England, there's a little baby called Charlie Gard. I'm pretty sure he's less than 1 year old. Now, he doesn't have cancer. He has a very rare condition called mitochondrial DNA condition or something, where the mitochondria, so that's the bit of the cells that make the energy, the so-called powerhouse of the cells, there's something quite major wrong with them. So this little baby is not developed properly, can't see, can't hear, can't move. And if you're in the UK, I'm sure you're very familiar with the story, but if you're not, I might as well just briefly say that the parents were doing crowdfunding, so asking for donations to try and take their baby to the US for some pioneering treatment. And what happened is the hospital felt it wasn't in the best interests of the baby to go and get the treatment, because the treatment, they felt had a very low chance of working, and it's potentially traumatic for the baby to be flown off to the US, and etc., etc. I think, at least at a certain point, they were saying, best thing to do, unfortunately, is withdraw life support and use this phrase, let the baby die with dignity. And so what happened was then Donald Trump said, oh, come to America, we'll pay whatever. The Pope said, come to the Vatican, come to our special hospital. Both these offers are kind of, I don't know, I don't really want to comment on them, but they were there. The offers were there. And money wasn't ever really an issue anyway, because the crowdfunding really went really well. I think they raised £1 million or something. It's over $1 million. But then there's this court battle with the court eventually ruling that the hospital had made the right decision. This is all taking time. While this is going on, a doctor in the US had been given the scans of the baby and had said, well, actually, I think there's a chance that this treatment would have an effect. I don't know what the chance was, but like 10% or something, which sounds very low to people, but fucking hell, when you've got a terminal condition, 10% is massive. You know, I'm having treatment that's a 2% chance of working, and 2% chance of curing incurable cancer. That's amazing. That's something to fight for. So sadly, what happened, I think yesterday or the day before, was that the doctor came from the US to the hospital, told this Dr. Hidano, and he basically looked at newer scans and said, unfortunately, we're too late. And I think that this case is really, really important. It's important because one of the things is that the hospital, and I guess to some extent the courts, did a very, very poor job of explaining their decision in terms that the public can understand. Whether it's the right decision or not, they definitely did a very poor job of explaining it, because the central argument was kind of very, very unconvincing, saying that this baby can't hear, can't see, can't feel much, can't move, but is in pain. Now that may be completely correct, but I'd want a convincing argument of how can you say this baby can't feel much but is in pain and has a very low quality of life. There may be very good reasons for them saying that, but they need a convincing argument because it matters. Medical communication matters. So many problems that we have with anti-vaccination movement, all this stuff. A lot of that is just poor communication, really, or whatever. People refusing transplants, people not wanting bits of pig or to be put in them, or not want medicines that are made out of dead mouse or whatever. We need a lot of high quality communication about that. So I guess that's the main thing I'd say is there's definitely a big communication issue there. I think, on balance, it was completely the wrong decision. As soon as the offer of this treatment came in the US, should have been like, either let's get the doctors from the US over here to do the treatment over to London rather, or get Charlie to the US. Now, the reason I say that is because even if the chance of it working is minimal, the doctors and the courts should have been thinking far more about the parents, far more about the importance of the parents being able to feel, being able to know that they'd pursued every possible treatment avenue to the maximal degree that made any sense. So that's one thing. Now, another thing is that this condition is very, 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 very rare. I think it's like 15 kids in the world or something have this condition. Because of that, every single patient that you treat is a massive amount of data, relatively speaking, to your almost zero data on it. So it's very, and often, you can learn quite a lot from treatment not working, as well as from treatment working. So that could have made a really big contribution to the knowledge of this condition. So that's another factor that kind of shows why this decision was wrong. And a third thing I'd say is that medical stuff only ends up in the court when a whole bunch of stuff has gone wrong. A whole bunch of stuff has gone wrong. So that's something to think about. Like as soon as something gets into the courts, everyone involved should be saying, where did we screw up? How has it possibly come to this? It should not come to this. There's a medical court case going on at the moment in Japan with a bunch of teenage girls who have like chronic pain conditions or can't walk or whatever. And they are saying that it is due to a reaction from the HPV thing, the vaccine for cervical cancer. And it almost certainly isn't. HPV is a very, very safe vaccine that's used, overwhelming evidence being used so much over the world. If it is caused by the vaccine, then it's very, very unfortunate for the girls. But again, absolutely any risk outweighs the incredible benefits. My mother-in-law died of cervical cancer. So it's really important. So it's really important that this kind of stuff gets sorted out before getting into court, because nothing good comes of courts, really. So, some controversial opinions for you. No reason for you to take any notice of them, except that I'm right, obviously. Yeah, there's kind of more I'd like to say on the NHS, but I'm going to save that for another video. Lots of good stuff to say about the NHS and a little bit of bad stuff. So, anyway, thanks for keeping me alive, really. The donations make a massive, massive, massive difference. And there are some people I know who can't donate, and they've been sharing my donation link, matthewdons.org, matthewdons.org. They've been sharing that link on Facebook, and it's bringing in donations. So even people that can't donate are helping me stay alive. Immunotherapy is the future of cancer treatment. It's a treatment that makes many other treatments irrelevant. Makes many other treatments redundant. I was listening to an interview last night with an oncologist who specialises in lung cancer in the US, and he's saying that currently immunotherapy is given for lung cancer, I think like a second line therapy. So basically someone has got their lung cancer spread and the normal treatments failed, and then they're given the immunotherapy, and now they're starting to test it as a first line therapy. So before you put the person on chemo, before you cut their big chunk of their lungs open, giving them immunotherapy to see what effect does it have on maybe shrinking the tumours, but also B, what protection does it give that person lasting months, possibly even years, because immunotherapy is the only known treatment that protects against cancer to a small degree in some cases, but still, it's incredible stuff. So, thanks for keeping me alive. Really appreciate it. If you can donate, please do. If you can't donate, or if you can, still please share that link about. And if you've got a minute, just write a comment about why you think it's good to donate. Hopefully you'd like to keep me alive, but much more importantly is just getting people having immunotherapy so that the doctors get more data. It's possible I may be the first long-term survivor of this cancer using immunotherapy. I may be the first in the world, which is kind of a cool feeling. And it's certainly looking pretty good so far. I've been very wary about saying positive stuff in these videos, but when I today sat down at the computer with my oncologist, my cancer doctor, he's just going through the blood test, saying normal, 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 normal. Now that's not stuff related to cancer directly, but it's stuff that's massively related to my quality of life. So platelet counts have gone up since the last 2 weeks, and now in the range of a normal healthy person. So that means my blood is as sticky as it should be. So if I get cuts, scratches and things, the platelets are gonna pile up, get sticky, heal up, protecting me from infections and stuff getting in, which is really important when your body is pumped full of chemotherapy poison and your immune system's getting trashed. So this treatment so far has just been incredible. I'm on 6 different treatments: chemotherapy, molecular targeting agent, hypothermia, NK cell immunotherapy, DC, cancer vaccine, dichloroacetate to change the microenvironment around the tumour so that the NK cells can get in and attack the tumours instead of dying in that acid environment. So, those 6 treatments are keeping me in a good condition. And that means, maybe get to live a bit longer, which is great, more time with the kids. It means if a new treatment becomes available, I'm fit enough to have it. Because for some treatment they take into account what's called performance status, like how physically okay are you. I don't want surgery, but I'm fit enough to have surgery at the moment, probably. Or no, in fact, certainly. So these treatments are really, really important, and thank you for keeping me alive. I really, really do appreciate it. I'm going to stop now and maybe do another video because I'm home alone, so it's a good chance. I notice in my eyes looking really dark because of the lighting, but can't really fix it at the moment. So thanks for listening. Really, really appreciate your time. It's been half an hour of your life wasted listening to me. Please share this video. Please share my donation link, matthewdons.org. That's MATTHEWDONS.org. Cheers, thanks a lot.